Okie dokie. Welcome back. This is Paul Jones, Polly J, whatever you want to call me. And I am with the lovely.
Roberta.
You told me that you wanted to reverse interview and asking me some questions. I know we covered some of it, but um, when I have the answers for your favorite movie, which was a Kevin Costner film, and it was called
Dancing with Wolves.
Dancing with Wolves, and I watched that tonight. I will when I get home. I'll watch it. I got every streaming platform, so I'm sure I'll find it. I'll find it somewhere.
I want to watch it again. I haven't watched it in years. I was going to call the library.
Oh, dang! I forgot about the library. It does have movies. I used to work at the library. Um, and then for music, you went with Blue Hawaii, Elvis Presley, which was an album by Elvis Presley. You also mentioned Leona Horn or
Lena Horne.
Lena Horne, excuse me, and Teddy Pendergrass and Barry White. That's very eclectic, or you covered all bases
Well,
with those choices.
those were my grown-up years.
Mhm.
Those two guys. You can't turn out the lights without when you're 15. At least I couldn't. I would think I was a dinosaur. I was a virgin until I was 24 years old.
And that's when you had your son also.
Mm-hmm.
That
And
was
most gals during those years with the stuff that was going on past in the early 70s, you didn't wait that long. But I was a good Christian girl, and I knew. But talk about the flesh and all that.
I was
Making the thieves sold my soul.
I was doing some research on LDS, which I think you will find this interesting. 40% of males participate in premarital sex in LDS, and 50% of the females participate in premarital sex in
Well, it's
LDS.
because the men lie. And we want to be what they want, and so we just give it to them. But, they break hearts,
Mm.
you know?
What did motherhood mean to you?
That's a hard one to answer because I was by myself, and I was angry too. Just like John was. He's not the dad that he's supposed to be, and he wasn't. I had to fight him to get some child support and spend time with John, and John wasn't welcome in his home because he was married, and she actually threatened to kill John.
What?
If you ever see you at my house again. And they only lived about 6 blocks away.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
My statistic was found on BYU.edu. It was a research paper. So during those times, you also expressed how race relations were when your son was growing up and how difficult that was to navigate. Do you have any, just elaborate on that experience, I guess.
Because I grew out in the country with all white folks, I made it was my business to move in town into the black side of Portland, northeast side. That's where we lived. That's where we shopped. That's where we went to church. That was our community, and I made that my learning experience because I didn't know anything.
Uh-huh.
And so I had to, I mean, I can kick it with the best of them now, but back then I wanted John to be with other kids that looked like him, and he was born in 1975. And at our church, we had a lot of biracial kids,
Uh-huh.
and so we were comfortable. And he had buddies, and they'd get into fights because one little kid, the school was calling us all the time. This is in kindergarten. Because he was a mixed kid too. And, so I said, well, I'm going to have a time and call the mom and have him come over and we can talk about this because we can't be running to the school all the time. And so Robert and John sat down and we asked him, why do you keep fighting with John all the time? I want him to be my friend. He wanted to get his attention, so we set it up so that Sherry had John every other weekend and I had Robert every other weekend so that they could, have a real friend instead of fighting all the time,
You think that would, how do you feel like that would happen now? I feel like that's missing now, having that sit down with another parent and being able to actually talk and mediate through those
You don't
issues.
do that, yeah. You don't do that.
Yeah, it's really...
They don't, the kids don't want your parents to. They, that's our business. And, they can walk around with their pants hanging down and doing whatever they want to now, But,
I wish more parents took that initiative to mediate situations. Now, like you said, it's kind of a free-for-all.
Yeah.
You asked me about, my mother. Yes, my mother is still alive. But you asked me about some pictures on my Facebook too, though. I don't know who though. I don't know who you was talking. What pictures you were talking referencing?
Well, there's one with a mom and dad, and 3 or 4 kids, and the little girls have little frilly little dresses of the.
Oh, that's probably a picture of my mom and her second husband, my younger sister's dad, and they got married, and we were all in that wedding. That might have been the picture, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. It kind of has to be. I feel.
So that's not. Were your parents divorced, or was your dad died, or what?
That's a great question. So, when I was born,
are you the oldest?
Oh no, I am. I have an older brother, who's the oldest, and I have an older sister, and then me, and then my younger sister, and my younger sister has 8 children now, I believe. Yeah, 7 boys and 1 girl. And yeah, I always say that she's having our kids for us. That's what I always say. But excuse me, I was born. My mother went into labor at my grandmother's funeral. So that was my being born circumstances. That was me coming into the world, and that's the only grandparent that I did not get to meet. So, but 3 months later, when I was like 3 months old, my mother had already been divorced, and she was with my stepdad now, and then they got married years later after they had my younger sister. So I was born into, just kind of a tumultuous situation, if you will. I guess that kind of explains my resiliency. So, yep. What am I missing? Oh,
but in your circumstances, your as far as your family, you were considered a African American
Oh,
family,
yes, yes. I'm sorry. So my dad,
even though your skin tone would tell you different.
yeah, I always kind of how your son grew up, like just always fighting and getting into it and being called like yellow or being called white. And both my parents are African American. My grandparents are African American. On both sides, my parents are both African American, and then their parents are also African American. Uh, and then based on research, their parents were African American. Stemming, uh, my great grandparents are from uh, the Florida area, Georgia, and Louisiana area, and Kentucky. And then my grandparents are from the same areas. My only one that uh, the only one that differs from those areas is my mother's dad, who moved up to New York or something like that, and then moved over to Indianapolis. But everybody eventually uh, was transported or
What
migrated
was the
up.
draw? Education or jobs
Yeah,
or
I was told jobs. It was like a big city, like a big city of opportunity. And by the time my parents were born, my grandparents were working at a hospital, excuse me, and then my grandfather moved to working at Allison Transmission. That was my mom's parents, and then my dad's parents. Um, my dad's mom was um, I believe like what's what I'm looking for, like nursing home, RN, like I believe she was like a RN or something like that, like
CPA?
yeah, CPA. Thank you. And my
CRA.
yeah, my dad's dad was a truck driver, and he drove around America and found out that he was allergic to diesel gas. So by the time he moved up to Indianapolis and had his kids, he left there to go to um, Delaware with his second wife. Yeah, he kind of like left the family and went to um, Delaware, and then he didn't have any more. He didn't have kids with this woman, but they had started businesses together, and he ended up starting his business. And she started a hair salon, and his business lasted for about 30 years until, excuse me, until it kind of went defunct. And I attribute that to not having a legacy plan, which I would suggest everybody having a legacy plan, specifically with the business, but in life in general, and what happens when you pass, or what happens if, what's next after you, So, um, different from a will, but I think that him not having it, and he's still alive, my dad's dad, him not having a legacy plan, I think it allowed um it didn't allow him to step away and trust the next process, the next step, or the next heir, because um he was just always still kind of, one foot in, one foot out, and making executive decisions when really he should have been retired.
Control.
Yeah, yeah.
Control issues.
That plagued so many people, seriously.
Well, back in those years, that's what it was. Everybody was, let me control you so you can control them, and mom, you control the kids while I'm controlling the business, and women didn't necessarily work. So,
That's real.
but now it's out of necessity almost in these times that women have to either single parents, or you have to have both parents working to sustain the home.
That's so true.
And the kids run around free doing what they want, or you just give them what they want, so that they're out of their out of your hair, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and then you get to do what you want to do, and then there is no control.
True. That's so true. And I feel like it's harder now to, with the lack of real conversation, it's harder to um, divvy out uh, priorities and expectations when you meet somebody. It's kind of like when you have kids. It's just, I mean, I don't have kids, but I assume that when you have kids, it's not, you don't have a sit down like, okay, you'll take care of this, you'll take care of this, you'll take care of this. Or even when you move in with somebody, you don't really have that discussion, which is
Because it involves
necessary.
trust.
Mm.
The bottom,
Foundation.
the foundation is trust, because nowadays it's too easy to cheat, you
Mm.
know, even on your checkbook, or
Yeah.
you know, with your time, or with the people that you can spend time with, or go out with, or whatever. You
Yeah.
know, it's just too, it's it's bad, bad word I want to use. It just isn't. It isn't, unless you have God or some type of belief, um, you know, that you can go to for encouragement, and people, you know, to
Mm-hmm.
teach you and be there for you and encourage you. Encouragement is such a big thing. Once you've found that, you know, this is the way I want to go, this is the kind of life I want to live, and not to deviate
Mm.
from the process. And um, because young people just, we, you know, we don't know what we're doing, you know, but it takes the older people that have been there, tried and true, and know what God can do in your life, to give you the found um, information that you need, and the encouragement that you need to keep going, because things are going to get tough, because without a test you don't have a testimony.
Mm. Amen.
That's the bottom line. That's how I look at it. I just keep it. And with consequences, there's our choices. You have a consequences. So you've got to know exactly what um, and where you want to go and do. And if you want to honor God or whatever in your life, then it's hard. And you're going to
Right.
step away from all those old ways and those temptations. And as young people, it's hard. But if you don't have a good sense of it from their home, you know, my parents were divorced when I was 10,
Mm.
you know, and it's tough to follow somebody who hasn't done it right yet either.
Right. I was talking to my aunt about, um, excuse me, a parable that I had heard about picking fruit, and how if you never saw somebody pick fruit correctly or accurately, then when you grab an apple, it might be rotten on the inside, but you don't know how to check it, so you just throw it in the cart, or you go to a watermelon and you try to squeeze on it instead of knocking on it, or just stuff like that with the
Mm-hmm.
melons.
Mm-hmm.
And you're picking oranges the way you would pick melons, the way you would pick squash, the way you would pick all these different fruits and vegetables, and that's not accurate. So and a lot of people are um, picking fruit based on trial and error, because they just simply were never taught or never observed, like you said, um, that quintessential
Yeah. But if you go back to the
idea
Bible,
role model.
you find you find the instructions
Mm.
by the instructor.
True, so true. What allows you? What in your life do you feel like attributed most to helping you build trust with others?
consistency? Are they there for me like I am for them? Do they express um, trustworthiness? Um, I see in them, it's not just the big things, but it's the little things. Uh, for me personally, I have a couple of women around me, not many anymore. They'll call me, they tell me, I love you. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you, can I do something for you?
Right.
Because I don't let them in the inner circle if I can't trust them.
Mm.
And it starts with the little things, and they're what they speak, how they speak, where they go, how they conduct their life and deal with their children, and spouses. Some I've had to just set aside. And I've had people set me aside, and I don't even know why.
Yeah.
One girl, the gal I went to Africa with, I got a letter in the mail that said, I don't want to see you any longer or have you be part of my friends or come to my house anymore. And she never really gave me a reason. We were friends for years. And then all of a sudden somebody says, I don't want to be your friend. How does that happen?
Right.
And why does it happen? And I had I wasn't welcome to ask that question.
Mm.
So, and knowingly, apparently she was not a safe person for me, which is what we call them. You're either safe or you're unsafe. And I didn't even know it. And am I still so naive?
Right.
I trust you. Or I don't even know you, really. We're getting to know you, but you're in my home. You could be anybody,
True.
and vice versa. And so it's nowadays to find someone who's trustworthy is, I think, a big thing.
Mm. I agree with that. And being able to, I feel like it's hard to find people that are trustworthy. It's getting easier to read people's energy, if that makes sense, in my opinion.
What do they spend their time?
Yeah, your focus.
Their focus is, and do they have the same values? Do they have the same friends? Especially for you as a younger person, it just depends on what kind of life you want to have.
I agree. And
because we can all just go to our den and sit around and, do what we want to do. But it's what part of me do I want to share? It is a giving and sharing of your heart and your mind and your soul. It isn't just, throwing out stuff.
Mm-hmm. You can feel when somebody's blocking you.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tell you certain stuff, and you be like, well, "What about this? I didn't even ask you about that, but you telling me."
Well,
this.
apparently, I didn't do a very good job over the years. So, and being by myself, I know how to do that real well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I don't get into trouble.
Oh, and that was insane. I don't know how. I feel like me agreeing with that, like that feeling of being alone, and I know I'm not obsessed with zodiacs, but our birthdays being a day apart is insane. So I feel like some of that does have to attribute to um our vibe, like
Yeah.
being able to relate to one another, especially with the blue zones and everything. And our you said our dads both passed on
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Uncanny.
Yeah. And you were a vegan for
Oh
10 years
yeah.
and I'm trying to get there. Jeez.
Oh yeah, and we both short. Don't forget about that. I enjoy being short, so
But I'm round and you're not.
I have to be round on the inside. Pause.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. You had asked. Um, on that same token, you asked me how um I ended up this way, but having the same parents and stuff, it's insane because I don't think people will believe that I'm literally. I know I was joking when I said an anomaly earlier, but I promise you, nobody else is my size on my family. Like nobody else is as small as I am. All the men, all the women, like.
Did you have a good talk with your mama? Did you have the birds and the bees talk with her?
That's hilarious. So, more
And you never
ironically,
asked her about it?
nah, I look like I'm a spitting image of my dad. So I was never asked, but I'm
Good.
messing with you. But I mean, they might be or my bad. I meant to say more ironically, I was the largest baby of my that my mom had though. So
Really?
yeah, so crazy stuff right there.
Yes.
So I turned out, I don't know, not what unexpected, and I think being short was good though because I know when I was younger, I know I would have been such a like egomaniac, if I was five, if I was like 5'11", 5'10", or like 6'2" or something, I would have been just over my. I mean, just into myself, so heavy. But I don't know, maybe just humbles me.
It's important that we don't lose our sense of
Hmm.
who we
Self.
are, but we have to find it first,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. And now a lot of us are just going back and finding it.
true.
And I'll talk with you more about that subject another day.
Counseling really helped. My mom, she offered us all counseling services when we were real young, and I was the only one that kind of continued that on through high school or through middle school, through high school, and then into college. The college that I went to allowed me to have, uh, they gave every student free counseling. So I just
No wonder
continued on
you're
with
a
it.
good talker.
Oh, thanks.
You know how to express yourself,
I do.
and you
I
know
do.
the right questions to ask.
I try. You had asked. You asked. Yes. Was that yesterday? Before I was leaving, you asked me how I got into like all the equipment and into kind of just being interested in. Um,
Radio.
yeah. So I, I would say, can I give you the long version or the short version or?
Your turn.
Okay, the short or the long version. When I was younger, my dad would kind of use his last money to get us downtown, and we would just hang out downtown for hours and hours. But um, there's this block. There's this block of concrete above the underground parking garage, and he would kind of have his hat out, and I would just dance and perform downtown, and then that would just make us money to get lunch and to buy stuff, and then make our way back for that day. And I remember, I mean, I was so young, but I do remember,
What city are you talking about?
Indianapolis. I remember buses passing and school buses passing, and people passing by, and just feeling that rush. You know what I mean? That high of just feeling like I'm impacting somebody's life, or feeling like bringing somebody joy, passerbyers joy. And I was in plays in elementary school, and I was in plays also in high school, and or I was in one in high school, but doing sports and stuff like that. So
What
um,
sports?
I did wrestling for like a couple weeks. I just wasn't feeling it, and then I did baseball for a little bit in elementary, and then I did
What
football.
position?
Football. In football,
No, in
base.
baseball.
Oh, baseball. It was like little league, so I would just be outfield most of the time. I was just quick and could throw. Yeah, yeah. And
And in football?
football, I was always defense. So I
Did you
played
feel that was a good out for aggression or for
definitely.
feelings that you?
It was dangerous. Now that I look back on it, but it helped a lot with discipline and helped a lot with strategy, being able to utilize my height and
Mhm.
accept it, find myself, and understand who I was. Even though I was small, I was still able to play every position on defense. So that, yeah, yeah, using my speed and quickness. Um,
But
but
in
I,
music, did
yeah, yeah.
you?
So I will write music and stuff like that. That passion came about like fifth grade. And then I would just like write like poems or journal entries, and then I would write also rewrite lyrics and read lyrics, print them off in middle school, stuff like that, hang on my walls and all that, and just learn different music.
But did you
And
use any instruments?
oh, I played cello in seventh and eighth grade for a couple years. Yeah, I love cello. It is a fun instrument. I We couldn't afford to have one at home, so my practice was really shoddy. So by the time I got back to school, it was just I was only learning while I was at school. So um, I failed out of that because I didn't practice and couldn't practice. But yeah, I love string. I love cello. I shouldn't say I love string instruments, but I love cello, and but I love all kind of music. We got exposed mostly through my dad, my uncle, and they would play a lot of like Jimi Hendrix, the Fugees, whew, a lot of different music. But then when I would go back home, like I would go to my dad's and my uncle's during the weekend. But then at my mom's, my stepdad, he would play a lot of old school, like a lot of Al Green, a lot of the Whispers, a lot of the Commodores, the Floaters. Uh,
Henry Graham.
yeah, yes.
See, you did get some of that.
Yeah, yeah. So I got a lot of that music, like Tina Turner. I mean, you name it. I just got force fed, literally, just all genres of music. And my mom was real eclectic on different music and stuff like that. So we would listen to like different gospel songs, or she would like play a lot of Alicia Keys, or I'm trying to think of some of her other artists that she listened to back then. Uh, but I mean, we listen to all types of music and stuff like that.
The Supremes.
Oh yes, funny story. I played Paul in as a Temptation. I played Paul, but we did a this was after school program, and we did um Motown night. So it was like a plethora of different Motown acts, and they
Mm-hmm.
just kind of um, put us all as a role to sing, to lip sing or karaoke to, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that show. Everybody loved that show. I don't know if anybody has that like footage, if that even exists, but I would love to see that. And love to see like the plays
I
from
was
being
going to
younger.
ask, did you keep your journals?
I
Do
have
you still
some
have
sheets
them?
of paper. When I lived in Kentucky in 2018 or 19 ish, I still had my box of like poems and raps, but I tossed all those away. And then I had my journal from New Zealand and my journal from Paris, but I tossed those too, just like trying to kind of let go of that baggage, if you will. Um,
Did it work?
I think I believe so. I honestly believe so because it allowed me not to keep carrying it on with me, and it allowed me to elevate how I write and elevate, um,
New.
yeah, elevate where I am mentally, and not have such a clogged space mentally, and physically. Not having to carry around, that boxes of stuff. So she peruses her house.
Several of my
You're
sisters have
silly.
gone into being minimalists.
Same, yes.
It was hard. I mean, I owned 3 homes
Mm,
and then went to the retirement
mm.
place and had to clean out, a 3-bedroom huge house
Yep.
down to 360 square feet. Everything I owned was in my bedroom, everything.
That's incredible.
Include that. And this is 770
Yeah,
square
725,
feet,
something
and
like
I
that.
still haven't got it. So,
I feel
so
you.
it's like I'm reverting, and you can't take it with you.
Right.
That's the whole thing that was always preached to us. You can't take it with you anyway. Well, somebody is going to want something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have given away a lot of money to the great grands and other children that mean a lot to me and have been in my life for a long time. And told them specifically, you will not be on the wheel if I ever get one done, because
Do a video one, a
you've
living one.
got all your money. Don't call and ask me for more.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything else that I have that you want? And pictures.
Oh yeah, pictures are such a hot commodity, especially when somebody passes.
And I gave them to my granddaughter's mother, but she found them. And she came home one day and they heard or smelled the some commotion out in the back, and she was having a barbecue with them.
What?
So I said, I'm not giving you any more. You can get them when I go.
Right. That is insane.
Because she can't be responsible to the mental health of members now in the family. It's a big thing now. And it's real.
Yeah, mental health is real, for sure. Um, I think I left off in my story. That I meant to say that specifically for doing outreach and reaching out to people was during middle school, helping like pass out condoms and stuff like that, HIV and AIDS, and we did that downtown. Me and my sister, and then fast forward to junior and senior year of high school, I somehow fell into a program that had to do with radio and sports broadcasting, and only 2 people showed up out of the thousands of kids that were at the school. Only 2 people showed up for a guy that did sports commentary throughout the entire state. He came to our school, Arsenal Tech, and this was my third high school. Me and Charles Brentberry, we were the only 2 people that actually took up this course. So I say that to say he is now a news anchor for some news. And I don't know what Paul Condry is doing, who is the guy that was overseeing the program. But I just remember him like teaching us certain stuff, like having silence over the broadcast, having rapport with somebody, just the basics. And then from that, I also went to work for a guy. I forgot his name, but he had a website called Put Me In Coach, and this was this was the hottest craze ever during that time in high school. And he would take the stats of all the players in the IPS or the public school system in Indianapolis. I would be the face and interview different athletes that were in the public school, that were like the all stars of the public school system in football and basketball, and then I would also call games. Me and Charles Brentberry, we would both call games in football and in basketball, and got like a little stipend off of
Mm-hmm.
that. But that just dwindled down because the guy, his equipment got stolen or something like that. And since then, I went to a huge broadcast. I went to the same school as David Letterman, the same college as David
Really?
Letterman. Yeah. So I didn't. I actually majored in elementary and special education. Funny enough, but I mean, I guess that still is kind of like you still gotta put up a show every day, if you will, and that just taught me a lot about soft skills. I had a lot of jobs in my life, and after that, I was still writing, and then fast forward to Kentucky when I started doing maintenance, and I had started investing in recording equipment and stuff like that, and sold all that. And over the years, I've sold equipment, bought equipment, sold equipment, and now I can finally afford and keep equipment. So that's where we are now. Um, I have a full recording studio in my apartment now, or as far as like mic and interface, computer, roadcaster for recording what we do, and then multiple microphones. And I want to grow that into getting another computer, a laptop, and then being able to animate with Adobe, animate some of the interviews or some of the show concepts that I do have and write.
Mm-hmm.
And just travel doing
So that's how
interviews.
you got into it, huh?
Yeah, I really look up to like David Letterman. I look up to Oprah. I look up to um,
Bart,
uh,
Barta Lartz. What's her name?
who? Oh, um,
Bertha.
um,
Or
what?
Barta.
Dang, I know who you trying to say. Whether Barbara Walters.
Yes. Thank
Goodness,
you.
yes, yes. Yeah, nah, Barbara Walters was dope, and Katie Couric too. She's a beast. But I was going to say, my whole life I looked up to Tony Robbins. He's an inspirational speaker. I'm sorry. He was in a movie called Shallow Hell. Oh, well, Shallow Hell is with Jack Black, and it's a funny movie. It's basically he talks to a guy and gets him to start seeing women for their inner beauty. So even outwardly, he says their inner beauty. So he's like talking to this 10, quote unquote, and in real life she's like overweight, and like he finally realizes who like what she looks like like without those rose tinted glasses, and then he still ends up talking to her and falling in love, I believe. So Tony Robbins, he's an inspirational speaker. He spoke, all over the world. During college, I saw the beginning of Mark Manson, who is like a newer version writer, and he writes a lot about being yourself and kind of focusing on your journey and your path. Uh, let's see. I read a lot about Steve Jobs. His book by Walter Isaacson changed my life. Um, a minimalist book that I read. I I forget the actual name of it. It's like
I don't want
tidying
to know.
up.
I'm not there yet.
It's a great book. The Magic Art of Tidying Up changed my life.
Was that by the Japanese lady
Yes,
who
yes.
looks at each thing and,
Mm-hmm.
I loved you, but I don't need you anymore?
Amen. You gotta have a new life. Give your items a new life.
I keep trying.
He said they keep coming back,
I
huh?
gave you a little pile. See, I do one little pile at a time.
Amen for that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of books just I can't stress the importance of reading enough to people, and just where it takes your mind, how it preserves your mind, and just how it impacts you when you don't even know it. I think that's a part of being stoic. Also, is reading books that you might not know interest you, or reading random books, even watching random videos, or like you talk about a lot, finding new interests as you get older, researching veganism, researching blue zones, and researching I forgot the conference that you showed me, but just weaving in the stuff that you have learned into now and how those things can kind of coexist. So um, I just really appreciate people that can do
Well,
that.
and what came to me, having a stroke and having to come back, and I had aphasia, so that is a specific part
Mm-hmm.
of just speech. My whole body was not incapacitated; it was just my speech.
Mm-hmm.
A bleeder from my heart went to here, right here,
Like your temple, kind of.
and I you see and you can hear that I still have issues, but it's connecting the brain to your mouth. And, because I can see the words, I can know what I want to say, but sometimes that isn't what comes out. And it takes work. And so I have a lot of different things in my therapy. I brought different sheets, excerpts out of books that she would have me read and just read and read and read some more. And so after that, that's all I did was read and read and read and read. But now I've allowed myself some time to just kind of settle again because we have high expectations. It's only been 9 months, and you think, oh, I want to do this and I want to talk like I used to right away, but part of the brain has been hurt, and I got to take time and just be patient with myself in getting back to talking. And it depends on, have you had enough sleep? Are you eating and drinking enough water? Taking little naps and whatnot, just being, easy with yourself
Mm-hmm.
to come back if you do come back. So a lot of people don't. But I've always enjoyed reading. I like reading and holding a book. I don't,
Yes.
I have an iPad, but I don't enjoy that as much as if I am really reading a book.
The physical copy allows you to see the start, the progress, and the ending.
Right.
It's nothing like the. I know this is weird, but even the smell of new books too.
Mm-hmm.
Old books, the
Mm-hmm.
smell of old books. It's just something about that physical copy. You can't imitate it or
Right.
recreate it at all. It's a human thing, you know. Like a lot of the culture now is, oh, we can do it electronically or electronic this, and what about in
Mm-hmm.
person? How do we connect in person if
Mm-hmm.
we keep pushing this narrative of electronic and robots and
Right.
XYZ? So
And I'm not really good at that. So
yeah,
that's why I'm the queen of the
sticky
stickies.
notes. You do like sticky
I
notes. I
have
can't
them
blame you.
everywhere. Everywhere.
That's how my scriptures look.
I do. I have that too. I have a special little one for that.
You got a favorite Bible verse? A few favorite Bible verses?
I have too many. My Bible is falling apart.
Yeah. James 5:11, blessed is the one that endure. I love that scripture.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Seek first the kingdom. I just dropped that one. That's one of my favorite verses. I got that tattooed.
I like anything in the New Testament, the New Church, you know,
Yeah.
Ephesians,
Mm-hmm. uh,
Philippians,
Philippians,
all
yeah,
those, because they tell you how to live your life. That's
true.
that's Paul preaching to the new churches,
That's
and
true.
that's your instructions. And why can't we do that?
It's difficult, but like you said, it's those instructions and it's the discipline.
Hmm.
It's hard to have discipline, and with so much access to everything else, it's hard to have discipline for sure. Oh, the 1 Timothy 6:12, fight the good fight. That's a good one. But I believe this one might have been about um maybe being chosen and
Which
tempted.
which one is it?
Just the entire set.
Yeah, could be.
The entire set. I had to find the video and give the reference point, but um, yeah, I haven't watched his videos in a while. I've actually um, I try not to limit myself to just one person because I feel like you start to veer off into how they believe. So I try to mix up who I
Well,
listen
isn't
to.
that what it's all about? Aren't
Yeah.
you to be? Isn't he the follower, and you're learning how to
Oh,
get to that position?
I misspoke. I meant I try not to follow one person that preaches or one person's videos because I still like to hear a plethora of individuals and their perspective, excuse me, on the word and
Is that at your church, or is it
oh, just in
you
general.
talking about? Do you like J? What's his name?
Oh, TD Jakes.
Yes.
Yeah. I see a lot of his clips on Instagram.
I, and
He has a daughter
what's
now
the other
too.
new brother?
His daughter preaches. She's pretty good too. I've watched a few of her clips, but I haven't been able to follow
And John Gray.
her. That sounds familiar. I'm unfamiliar. I don't.
Big.
He's a burly guy. Huh? No, I don't know. I found a new
And he
one.
even had to ask forgiveness from his church because he stepped out
Mm.
on his wife.
I think as long as people are honest, I can respect the honesty. But when the church leadership is dishonest and you know they're dishonest and they kind of graze over it, that's the part where it just becomes unsettling.
Do you think asking forgiveness is enough for the pastor, for a leader?
That's a great question. I
Because
believe
in the old days, we used to make them sit out for a year at least, or anyone in the church. We have, according to the word, if they won't listen, you bring them before the body, right? And we had several occasions. I was one of them. And so you have, because the pastor brought me in front of everyone and said that I was pregnant. And I asked their forgiveness. And then he had all the women come forward. They laid hands on me and prayed for me. And I swear, I have never heard or felt anything like that in my life. It was just like the whole Spirit of God went through me. And
that's beautiful.
And then you walk out of there and you're renewed. And then there was an older couple in the church. They came up and asked if I would come and live at their home till I had my baby. And I did until he was 6 months old.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
life changing.
That's how
like you said.
That's the impact that you can have on somebody's life.
Using your testimony.
And well, no, and body, making the body well is going and ministering to those that are weak, those that have needs, and so the body takes care of the body, and that's how I feel that's how the body stays healthy.
Impact or
So, because of these people doing that for me, that's what I've spent my life doing, and that's helping. That's what Jesus did. He opened your home, you shared what you have, and still encourage them to take a step up and do what they need to do as far as responsibility for themselves and their family.
he led by example, and
Right.
he ate and drank with the sinners and tax collectors and
That's
sinners.
what
Yeah, I loved when I heard that last Sunday, this past Sunday, um, at Bible school or Sunday school, and it just was so eye opening because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking in my head, we're talking about this verse, specifically talking about the prodigal son, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm previewing or I'm just looking over our crowd, and I'm thinking in my head, how many of us are really living this? How many of us are really talking to people that we on paper have no business talking to? Who are we really ministering to the people that need it, or are we just so engulfed in what's going on between our four walls at work, at school, and are we really able to uh, impact the lives of people that need it the most, the sinners, the tax collectors, if we're dodging them? And that's like mainly what that post was about, because I hear so much of living the word, but, and I'm not saying I'm perfect, I'm just saying I do my best at trying to talk to people that are the most random, but my spirit has led me to talk to. Who can I talk to? Oh, I'm feeling like I'm getting a vibe from this person. Like you said, I see this person sitting in the back of church. I see them sitting in the front in the corner by themselves. How do I interact with these people? How do I better understand where somebody's coming from when I'm hearing pain in their testimony, or I'm hearing long suffering in their testimony? I'm hearing stoicism in their testimony.
And you never know until maybe years later they'll come up and say, that time that you have long forgotten, you touched me. You spoke to my heart. You spoke into my life. And I'm going, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because sometimes those, they aren't really random.
True.
They're led.
Amen.
And as many women, and through the different classes that I've taught, you never know what you're going to say. I mean, when, like I said, telling them that, yeah, I was doing 5 guys at the same time, they were like, you would never do anything like that. You were the church, secretary, Roberta, but I'm human.
Yeah.
And I fall in the same sphere that you do, as far as
Right.
stepping out, doing whatever, So why can't I be in that same? No, it wasn't pretty, and no, it wasn't nice. And when I look back on it, it's I'm surprised I'm alive right now.
Amen to that. Same. Looking back on the lifestyle that I was living compared to now, it seems polar opposite. It's night and day, and I'm so thankful to be able to. Amen. It's a blessing to be able to have the knowledge and experience and live to tell about it. It allows the maneuverability between different socioeconomic statuses, between racial boundaries and cultural boundaries. It's been a hell of a run, but I'm appreciative of all of that experience. And I was talking to a friend, Les, and she said, "You, oh man, I know I'm about to butcher this quote, but she was saying how you never really know somebody until you hear their testimony, or you never know how you can relate to somebody until you hear their testimony, something of that nature." And I apologize for butchering her quote, but it was so much more eloquent the way she put it, and that's so true. When until you talk to somebody and really get to the meat and potatoes of their
Mm-hmm.
life, no matter how long you hear uh, their story, it's cool to hear their story, and always a pleasure to be able to exchange information with somebody else and hearing what they come from. It might not be the same story, but you can still hear those
Well, you have
similar.
to be real for, you know, we're not comedians here, just
Right.
making up stuff. It's the reality, and the reality is that people are basically the same
Yeah.
until we, you know,
True.
and we might have different circumstances, but we still have wants and needs, and more wants and more needs, and we should have, or the type
True.
that we should have. But we have basic needs, and community and love and trust, I think, are my three.
Mm,
And
so
as we
real.
get older, you have to work at it harder because you don't want just anybody in your sphere. You don't want just, you know, every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
True.
You
True.
want Susie and Loretta and Cynthia, the ones that have been through the same things that you have, that can give you a testimony and know that it's okay. I can mess up, not intentionally
Mhm.
or in or intentionally, but there is a way to change that.
Amen. The instructions.
Hmm.
Well,
And the instructor.
amen to that. It's
Hmm.
been a wonderful journey. Um, excited to see what's next, and excited to see who all is out there that feels the same way. Do you have any more questions for me though? Before we have
Well,
been.
if I go back to your Facebook, I probably did.
My goal is to be extremely transparent. I'm not the best at doing that because I do try to omit some of the things that I have been through or some of the things that I have done, and I'm getting better at that transparency part. But it's hard when you've done so much to kind of get over that hump, to pull that memory back or to pull that experience back up. It's just really hard. But I try my best to be as transparent as possible and allow people to be who they are, and hopefully they'll be inspired by me talking to people, or hopefully they'll be inspired by what I've been through or how I present myself, and wanting people to know who they are, like you said, find themselves and push that narrative forward. Use the instructions that their instructor has given them in order to become the best them that they
Right.
can be.
Because you don't want to get stuck in a situation where, gee, he's been through this or through that. I don't want to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's better to know ahead of time than to get in a relationship with somebody and then you find out that they really aren't interested just because of that one little,
Nugget. Yep.
yeah.
So true. It's unfortunate, but if that's the one deal breaker, it wasn't meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't want to go through that feeling of, oh, but this was the one. No, it wasn't. Just keep it pushing. Follow the instructions. Seek first the kingdom.
Well, thank you, Paul.
I appreciate you. Thank you as well. You
It's
are
really
welcome.
kind of fun.
I loved it every second, and I appreciate you. Invite me into your home, giving me treats and giving me all the items that you want to have a second life.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
I will close this out. Yeah. Thank
Did you date these?
Oh yeah, they'll be in there.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.